Numbers are everywhere. In fact, number is something that our computers understand properly. I should say numbers is the only thing that our computer understand properly. In this video, I'll be explaining you what numbers in Python is and how you can write efficient Python program using these techniques. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code and write some code. In our previous videos, we discussed about the data types and we also discussed about how you can check the data type of a given variable. In this video, we are going to be exploring the numbers data type. Guys, if you haven't...
So now I'll create a new file. I'll call it tutorial3.py. And we're going to be writing some code. So as I've already told you in tutorial 2 that you can create a number, you can create an integer, you can create a floating point number, you can also create complex numbers. So let's start by creating a number. So I'll say num1 is equal to 45. Also we'll be saying num2 is equal to 46, and we will print num1 plus num2. So if I run this program, you'll see that my Python interpreter will be adding these two numbers. So if I check the output, it's gonna be 91. There you go, here is a 91 on a screen. Guys, before we move any further, I would like to tell you the rules to create variables in Python. Rules to create variables in Python. So a variable is nothing but an identifier. So in order to create a variable, you need to adhere to some of the rules. For example, if I create a variable which is something like this, which means it contains a space, and if I try to run this program, it'll tell me that you cannot do this. This is invalid syntax. So how to make sure that the variables you are creating are good for Python? So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna be listing all the rules that you need to take care of while declaring Python variables. So your variable name must start with a letter or underscore. So I will say must start with a letter or an underscore. So it must start with a letter or an underscore. So if your Python variable is not starting with a letter, which means it is starting with something like special characters or numbers, then it is not a valid Python syntax. Let me make it a comment so that this program goes through. Now if I create a variable 6, this is equal to 34, this is not correct and it will throw syntax error. So I'll write here, this will throw syntax error, and I'll be saving this, and I am gonna be commenting this line. Now again, so this was rule number 1. Coming to rule number 2, let me move this line above rule 1. You can move line in Visual Studio Code using your Alt and up and down arrow keys. If you press Alt key on your keyboard and you press up and down arrow keys, your line is gonna move up and down. So now I'm gonna be listing some more rules for creating Python variable. A variable cannot start with a number. As we already saw, a variable cannot start with a number. A variable can start with an underscore though. So now I'll be listing another rule for creating variable, which is variables are case sensitive, and we'll see what this means in a while. Before that, I'm gonna be writing a 4th rule, which is it can contain only alphanumeric characters and underscores. So can only contain underscores and alphanumeric characters. And this is rule number 4. Let me close this. So here are 4 rules to create Python variables. First one, it must start with a letter or an underscore. If you are starting your variables with a number, it is not valid. If you are starting your Python variable with a dollar and you are saying $RR is equal to something, and if you run it, you're gonna be getting an error. It will say that this is invalid syntax. Coming to rule number 3, variables are case sensitive, which means if I say FF is equal to 34 and if I say capital FF is equal to 34, then small ff and capital FF, these both numbers, they are totally different. So these are rules for creating variables in journal. They need not be numbers. I did not tell you about this in tutorial number 2 on variables, so I'm telling it now. So you must make sure that all of your Python variables are set